Hi, I've called this session Parkinson's, is it hereditary? I am a woman that is 64 years of age. I was diagnosed at 59 with Parkinson's. And apparently 59 is pretty much average for women to actually be diagnosed with Parkinson's. Now, as well as Parkinson's, which was the newest kid on the block, I have a number of other health issues. I have arthritis. I also have a hiatus hernia, which causes me some stomach troubles, and I have to take medication to keep that under control. I also have arthritis. I have arthritis in my fingers, and I've had to have 4 joint replacements in those fingers because of the pain that I've had. I've also had a knee replacement, and just recently I have had a diagnosis of arthritis in my feet. Now, this is a bit of a challenge, having arthritis in my feet, because it's very difficult. You can't stay off your feet without getting in a wheelchair, I guess. But it's quite new, and we're treating things conservatively with medications and also with orthotics. So they're not too bad at the moment, and we'll just roll with that. But yeah, I don't just have Parkinson's. I have a few other bits and pieces, swallowing issues because of my Parkinson's. I get a gravelly voice, which I've got a little bit at the moment. And yeah, cognitively, my memory's not so good. But Parkinson's sometimes feels like the least of my worries when I've got things like back operations happening because of compression of my spine, pinching off my nerves and causing me pain. So Parkinson's has been relatively well behaved, and it's the other things in my life that have caused me trouble. Now, I call the session Parkinson's, is it hereditary? And the answer is, I don't really know. And I think there are various schools of thought on this topic, whether it's hereditary or not. That said, both of my parents had Parkinson's, and I'm one of 4 children. I haven't seen or heard from my brothers that they have any signs of Parkinson's, but having seen them in recent years, I haven't seen any signs for myself, and I can actually usually pick somebody that's got Parkinson's. I think when you know, you know. But no, I seem to be the only one. So that's my mum and dad, and my brothers all have children, and one of them has twins. And on their mother's side, they also have, her mother had Parkinson's. So when you think about it, for a person to have 3 people in their immediate line, grandparents that have Parkinson's, logic must dictate that they would be of higher risk than your average person, just as I and my brothers are at higher risk because of having both parents with Parkinson's. And when it comes to causes, I think they're still figuring that out. There's lots of research going on and trying to figure out how this thing came to be. And it could be exposure to fumes, chemicals, all those sorts of things. Well, my dad was a diesel mechanic and used to go out on farms a lot, and obviously dealing with fumes and things with smelly diesel engines and tractors and things like that. He also used to come home and he'd wash his hands really well, but he just couldn't get the ingrained gunk out of his pores, and he always had looking hands, much as he would wash them with sand soap and things like that. And I do wonder whether maybe something seeped in through his pores, as well as the smells, that might have brought him to having Parkinson's. My mum grew up on a market garden, and in those days market gardeners used a whole lot of sprays and things. If they were actively spraying, the person that was actively spraying would wear a mask and a suit, but it must linger in the air and linger in the ground and everything around when you're living on a market garden with those sprays going around. So I do wonder whether that is one of the factors that might have meant that my mum too got Parkinson's eventually. The other thing is, and a lot of people would say this was causative, I grew up in Rotorua, which is one of the smelliest places you could ever be, although you do just get used to it, and it's worse in some parts than others. If the smell from Rotorua was something to cause Parkinson's, then the whole population would have it, quite frankly. So the reason I started this podcast is because I was reading a post in a Facebook page that I follow for people with Parkinson's and those that support them. And one woman was saying that her mum passed away a few years ago from Parkinson's, and now her 80-odd-year-old father has been diagnosed with Parkinson's as well. And she said, should I get tested to see if it's a genetic thing? And various types of sort of comments and thoughts and advice came forth. And for me, I suppose I could get genetic testing, but it wouldn't change my outcome. I know I have Parkinson's, and I'm pretty sure it's come through my mum and dad. And I think if I didn't have symptoms for myself, I don't think I would go and get tested just to find out whether I might possibly have Parkinson's or not. I think if I started to get symptoms, definitely, like I did, I went because I was very aware of Parkinson's symptoms because I'd seen them in mum and in dad, and they were both quite different. So I had some similar signs that I might have Parkinson's, and so I went to have my assessment. I went to my GP first and asked to be referred to a specialist. Got referred to a specialist, and then he diagnosed very quickly that I had Parkinson's disease. So while I think it's good when you get symptoms to be checked out as soon as possible, I wouldn't have felt the need to be checked out if I had no symptoms. But with the advent of symptoms, then I certainly thought it was worth getting it diagnosed. And some people I know hesitate to get diagnosed. I know I've met people who have only had a diagnosis for maybe three or 4 years or something, and they seem quite advanced. And I wonder whether, in the main, whether people might delay having the diagnosis or having that assessment done because they're trying to ignore these things, putting shakes down to low blood sugar or whatever that might be. And so whether people just keep putting aside those feelings, those thoughts about maybe I should get this checked out, till it became really obvious. Because I know that I went to my doctor really early, and he actually didn't believe that I had Parkinson's, and I very much felt that I had. And so he begrudgingly referred me to a neurologist, and he was actually the neurologist that saw my mum and dad. He didn't need to do any scans, he didn't need to do any blood tests. He did a few simple tests on me that I had to mirror some things that he was doing. And at the end of about 10-15 minutes, I had my diagnosis. And I wonder too whether part of that was if he read my file and remembered he had seen my parents, then perhaps he would also think that maybe there was that genetic element. So yeah, I just thought it'd be interesting to know how other people feel about whether they would want to get tested to see if it was hereditary. I think for me, when I was diagnosed, I started to live my life quite differently. And I made more of an effort to be with people that I love, to do things that I enjoy as long as I can enjoy them, to travel, to do all those things that one day Parkinson's or just plain old age will stop me doing. So if you even suspect you have Parkinson's, and even if you don't, my philosophy in life is to live life to the fullest. Do things that you can while you can do them. Don't put off till tomorrow what you can do today, that old saying. And whether you've got any kind of diagnosis of anything at all, we will never be healthier than we are today. But if you can walk, you can talk, you can travel, you can do all those things, I say do them. Diagnosis or no diagnosis, hereditary or not hereditary, it's up to us to live our lives to the full. And whether it's hereditary or not, maybe our children might want to get diagnosed, might want to get tested. But for me, I think if somebody had said to me when I was younger, why don't you get tested for Parkinson's, I probably would have recoiled in horror, because maybe people had seen something in me that made them think that I had Parkinson's. I don't know. But I think as long as you're symptom-free, for myself, I would have let sleeping dogs lie, because I wouldn't find it necessary to do anything in checking into whether it's hereditary or not. My children may be in line for it, who knows? But by the time their turn, if there is a turn, comes round, hopefully there'll be a cure and it won't be so bad. So, in answer to the question, Parkinson's, is it hereditary? I think there must be an element, but I'm no scientist. Just my Parkinson's is what it is. It is my Parkinson's. It's not my parents'. It's not anybody else's. And I choose to live well with Parkinson's as much as possible. And I hope you can do the same. So this has been Sue for Parkies and Me, my journey with Parkinson's. Kia kaha, be brave, be strong, be you.